Before its fall, Tenochtitlan seemed almost impossible to conquer. It rose from the waters of Lake Texcoco, a city of temples, causeways, canals, markets, and stone. At its height, it was one of the largest and most impressive cities in the Americas. But in 1519, ships from across the ocean reached the coast of Mexico. They carried soldiers, horses, steel, and gunpowder weapons. They carried ambition and something no army could fully command: disease. The fall of the Aztec Empire was not the story of one small Spanish force defeating a civilization by itself. It was a collision of worlds, a clash of empires, alliances, beliefs, technology, disease, and political rivalries that reshaped the history of the Americas. The empire, often called Aztec, was built from the triple alliance of Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, and Tlacopan. Over time, Tenochtitlan became the dominant power, and the Mexica became the force most closely associated with the empire. By the early 16th century, Mexica influence reached across much of central Mexico. Tribute flowed toward the capital. Food, textiles, goods, warriors, and captives moved through imperial networks. To the rulers of Tenochtitlan, this was the structure of power. To many subject peoples, it was a source of resentment. The empire was strong, but it was not united by loyalty alone. That weakness would become one of the most important forces in its collapse. When Hernan Cortes arrived in 1519, he did not enter an empty land. He entered a world of rival cities, political divisions, and long-standing enemies of Mexica power. The Spanish brought weapons unfamiliar to many people in central Mexico: steel swords, armor, crossbows, firearms, and horses gave them advantages in certain battles. But these advantages did not make conquest inevitable. The Spanish were few. Their survival depended on indigenous knowledge, food, interpreters, guides, and above all, allies. One of the most important figures was Malintzin, also known as La Malinche. Her knowledge of languages and politics helped Cortes communicate, negotiate, and understand the world he had entered. Among the most important allies were the Tlaxcalans, long-standing enemies of the Mexica. After fierce fighting, Tlaxcala and the Spanish formed an alliance against Tenochtitlan. For Tlaxcala and other indigenous groups, this was not simply submission to Spain. It was a political decision inside a Mesoamerican world already shaped by conflict. They saw a chance to weaken a powerful rival. Cortes saw a chance to survive. Without these indigenous allies, the Spanish expedition could not have carried out the campaign that followed. When the Spanish first entered Tenochtitlan, they were received by Moctezuma II. The meeting was filled with ceremony, tension, and uncertainty. Neither side fully understood the other. The Spanish saw wealth, power, and opportunity. The Mexica saw strangers who were dangerous, unpredictable, and difficult to place within the political world they knew. The fragile peace did not last. Moctezuma was taken into Spanish custody. Trust collapsed. Violence spread. In 1520, while Cortes was away, Spanish soldiers under Pedro de Alvarado attacked Mexica nobles and warriors during a religious festival. The city erupted. The Mexica rose against the Spanish and their allies. Moctezuma died during the crisis, though accounts differ over exactly how it happened. The Spanish were forced to flee the city in a desperate night retreat, remembered as La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows. Many died on the causeways as they tried to escape through the darkness. For a moment, Tenochtitlan had survived. The invaders had been driven out, but the danger had not passed. As Cortes rebuilt his forces with indigenous allies, another enemy spread through the region: smallpox. The disease had arrived with people from the Old World and moved through communities with no previous exposure to it. Its effects were devastating. It killed leaders, warriors, priests, farmers, parents, and children. It weakened families, disrupted food supplies, and damaged the ability of communities to defend themselves. One of those who died was Cuauhtemoc, the Mexica ruler who had succeeded Moctezuma. Tenochtitlan faced renewed war while still suffering from epidemic disease. Smallpox did not conquer the city by itself, but it struck at one of the worst possible moments. By 1521, Cortes and his allies returned. This time, they came not only as raiders, but as a siege force. They used surrounding cities as bases. They attacked routes into the capital. They built brigantines, small war vessels, to fight for control of Lake Texcoco. Tenochtitlan was a city built on water. Control of the lake meant control of movement, food, supplies, and escape. The siege became brutal. The attackers cut off access to food and fresh water. The fighting moved across causeways, canals, streets, and rooftops. The Mexica, led by Cuauhtemoc, resisted fiercely, but hunger spread. Disease remained. The city was slowly exhausted. Weapons alone did not break Tenochtitlan. Starvation, isolation, epidemic disease, political pressure, and relentless assault worked together. The defenders were trapped inside their own capital. The final fall came on August 13th, 1521. Cuauhtemoc was captured. Tenochtitlan, once one of the greatest cities in the world, lay shattered. Its temples were damaged or destroyed. Its political order was broken. On its ruins, the Spanish would build Mexico City, the capital of New Spain. The conquest brought forced labor, land seizure, religious transformation, violence, and further waves of disease that devastated indigenous populations across the region. But indigenous peoples did not disappear. They survived, adapted, resisted, negotiated, and carried their languages, memories, and traditions forward. The world that emerged after 1521 was not simply Spanish. It was shaped by conquest, but also by indigenous endurance. The fall of Tenochtitlan marked the end of one empire and the beginning of another. It changed the future of Mexico. It helped reshape the Atlantic world, and it became one of history's clearest examples of how empires can fall when outside pressure meets internal division, epidemic disease, and war. When two worlds collided, neither remained the same. Fault lines of history. Like and subscribe if you would like to hear more documentaries about the turning points that changed civilization.